Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Game number one was a blast. It was an ill-biter all the way through. The drafts were wacky, the plays were insane, and eventually it was a Tundra that managed to win number one. But no new chances, new heroes possibly as well. Actually, to be fair, wouldn't surprise me all for new heroes. But Trevor, what a blast that game number one was, wasn't
it? Very great draft, throwing us, tossing and turning, and nail biter until the end, and just a hard carry from that TV with passport behind him to find that success. You know, Sasuke and the Primal Beast 2 on able to create so much space for them.
Yeah, and it was Gaimin Gladiators started off the game super well as well. They won pretty much their lane. Well, it's a little bit awry, but net worth wise, in all three of their lanes, they looked pretty dominant. They had Tofu killing off everyone at one point, but eventually they just managed to get it to the later points. And right now we have a turn back the clock play here. Broodmother versus the Pudge plus Crystal Maiden. It would not be too surprising to me if we get Rubik coming in for Saxa.
I wouldn't even be surprised if they're just right here and check the T early, because even a little bit of a weird build, it was able to find that answer, and I think that's what they're debating. Do we go for the Rubik or do we go for the TV? Because it's certain that gaming gets, and they're going to prioritize that Rubik, and who can blame them?
He was pretty again against Crystal Maiden and Pudge. The spell steals are insane. There would probably be a couple like some very interesting bands. Undying band, okay, that's an interesting band. It is pretty okay against Pudge. Does not have good attack speed, but I assume an Ursa band will be coming in as well, because Ursa tends to be a good old tank. But
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
With the Batrider ban, there is immediately when I think see a Batrider being banned, I always think about the Treant Protector. It's being played a lot in this current patch, but as in this case, it gets played nearly every game. Batrider is really good against it. Granted, it is also very good hero for Quinn, so it might just be a risk in that regard to make sure that they will not be a runny pick coming in for Tundra.
I would be surprised if gaming gladiators don't ban it, though. You got the classic Batrider removed, the Dark Seer, two of the best counters for spawn. I mean, we've seen that even with the Huskar, and will be a point where he can just out-carry you. And another carry that can out-carry you even easier is Ursa. It's him and the TV. The last two bands are dedicated going to this next phase, and I'm not sure where that's going to lean us towards next.
They could always try and bamboozle play and give like Ace the Pudge in case it's needed and get different safe laner if they want to. Hell, maybe even Quinn wants to take a crack at the Pudge mid. But there we have the Ricky. Makes a lot of sense. Tofu was really convincing on the Ricky last game. They did not win it, of course, but that entire early game was just a Tofu show.
Doesn't have the most enjoyable early game, but he can find success against it.
5 seconds remaining.
And with that, you know, they still have so much of this reserve time. But they're going to have to be, do you ban TB? Do you want to be able to answer that? I'm surprised that, again, like mentioned, that they didn't save the Ursa for themselves. It takes a bit to get that Battle Fury, but it does an amazing job against the Spiders. He's able to come back, snowball pretty quickly with that Ursa, and we know you can just directly go and fight up against the TB if you ban it. But instead, they're having to use both of these bans to get rid of the Ursa and the Wing to respond.
Okay, Hoodwink, it's another Tofu hero. He loves to play the hero into oblivion at the moment. Pretty solid hero. It's pretty nice to steal, though, for the Rube, possibly. it lays well with some nice targets, and you can find the broodmother in the trees. I think that's specifically the most important thing. You can find the 33 broodmother scurrying about in the tree line, and that is what you're trying to use the bush for most of the time. Though the downside is that you can be hunted down through the trees, so it does have an adverse effect in that regard.
I mean, the Hoodwink gives you this good lockdown for the Rubik and the Broodmother and whatever else they try to bring out. And with the Terrorblade taken out, they have to figure out something else to respond. It's a decent option, gives you the flexibility, doesn't give away your draft necessarily, though. With the Broodmother, I'm going to assume that it has to be a Topson.
Likely a Topson Pango, Snaking, Phoenix, both very clear-cut priority picks for 2 players specifically. Yeah, just give them comfort, and there we get to see Quinn. It is an interesting matchup, the Pango and the Ember. There is, honestly, definitely the outplay potential, but most of the time it does favor slightly the Ember Spirit in those games. One thing that I do find a little bit worrying for the side of Tundra is last game they had a struggle with lockdown. A significant struggle. Like, Rubik was all the lockdown they had. This time they have a Phoenix, and you kind of need to have everyone close to the Phoenix. The only one that really had a good, solid line would be the Pangolier. So Topson and Snaking, if they want to have any eggs on any enemy, you kind of need to group them all, because Ember is very evasive. Hoodwink is very evasive. The other 2 are very slow, but for the most part, it should be just A-okay. One, I do think they should get something with attack speed, though, for the Phoenix Egg, in case you can't run away. That's why it is a very good choice to ban out Beast Moss, because Beast Moss, of course, has that attack speed aura, which is very effective to kill off an egg.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, and it just a really good offlane remove. And also, like, well, you gotta use your last pick to answer this Phoenix, or you're going to have to deal with the egg in every single team fight. And even then, still, it looks like I actually misread that a bit. You will have that, and you'll have to debate: do you want to try to deal with the carry? Do you want to try to deal with the safe laner? You know, what do you want to do? And they just are not interested in dealing with that Timber in game number 2. It's pretty problematic game number 1. One of the main reasons they were able to get the first blood, create all that space in the early game to get that lead and momentum, and to keep this game so contentious.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, it's an interesting ban the Timber saw. We did see Ace last game. Honestly, it makes a lot of sense because Ace was so good. Like, it was a top tier Timbersaw performance. They lost, granted, but amount for his item build as well with the Scythe of Ice at a reasonable timing. It was impeccable in his duties there. So this time around, will they give him another core that can transition that expertly? They ban out. Last pick is for Gaming Gladiators off lane for Ace. It could still be the off lane. That would honestly not be surprising in these. Like, want to decide that they want to flex it around. And there's going to be the CK. Okay, that is a hero that I guess he sometimes to moderate success, I would say.
Maybe overall, most of the time it's been disappointing at best. Usually
bump it up a bit.
Usually they try to find the success without the. There's a lot of just AoE damage to clear the illusions off. So I think a lot of it's going to be relying on getting this lockdown with the Rubik, I suppose, and maybe a little bit of the Pango.
The CK stun
to try to allow the CK to get the CK stun is certainly nasty.
But
and importantly, passive gives stain. I don't know how well he goes up against in the strength matchup in comparison to, say, you know, the Pudge. I don't know if it's as good as, say, a Lifestealer, for example.
Oh no, Lifestealer would be 10 times better to kill off a Pudge. I actually think is probably a very choice in that regard. It is good to kill off the supports and possibly Ember if Ember is slightly underfarmed. But the downside of a Pudge is he gets Axe and Induction against Brood Mothing, which is going to go Sunray, which is obviously a ton of healing. And CK cannot think of the Chaos Strike, something along those lines. It's just the heat reduction from the Pudge. It almost instantly will lose illusions. Like his goal this game is Spasm. That's kind of how he's supposed to take these fights. With the Tide in the mix, their team fight, AoE control, damage, sustainability, it's going to be really hard to break through. The Tide and Pudge are hard to kill. So I definitely am fearing getting Gladiators draft this time to be a reasonable amount. Granted, Phoenix Sunray is very against both the Pudge and the Tide Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, the entire reason they went for the size, they think that could answer this Brood Mother to be competitive. And the game for the CK to find success, I feel like this one should be it. There's not those big damage spellcasters. I mean, sure, the CM and do decent damage. But considering, you know, you always have the passive on solutions, it's just kind of a battle of who can sustain more. And maybe the burst damage is much, and it's just able to, you know, pop through that strength and crack through the iron eggshell of this defense. It's kind of the big here. Considering that they have Hango with it too, that's pretty good. This team fight is insane, and it does. I would argue the Penguin answers the lockdown question for the Phoenix, just the Rolling Thunder.
Yeah, I get 4 staff. The Maiden and the Hoodwink both get a 4 staff. They have kind of destroyed the Rolling Thunder, and then they take out most of the time. Personally, I'm going to throw my eggs in the Gaming Gladiators basket this time around. So to hear you're going for Tundra, so it's going to be on opposite sides this time to see who's going to be the correct in the process. But yeah, it's been as successful lately. Maybe from the past performance coming out from the Nightfall.
I just like winning.
That can't be brought out to keep things nice and spicy.
I'll do things nice and spicy. Don't forget to press the banner below the to get yourselves a $15 free bet over at Bet. It is going to be First Blood secured another kill at the start of the game and combination. It is lane, same story.
Getting First Blood. And I don't know, is the Pudge something Gaming Gladiators go for so often, or is it specific?
It's primarily against Brood, but I also like to play it in general. Duracho is a lover of ranked mirrors. Like Dawn is a hero that he loves. He's played the Safe Lane Mars a reasonable amount of times. He kind of just plays everything that's required for his team, but his Pudge is really good. He kind of reminds me of Watson in that regard. Both safe laners to just like play where their team requires of them.
Certainly makes sense. Field crash did connect there. I almost thought it just completely missed and didn't connect. Level 1's going to feel like once it gets to the level 3, that's when the Penguin has a chance to really get that first damage through and turn things around.
In that top lane, we've seen it previous game that it went horribly wrong with the freeze into hook combination. Speaking of which, they're going to try it again. Saxa gets dragged back. There is no rot yet for Duracho, so he cannot realistically run down the Rubik, but you do that one more time and the Rubik is dead. So you have to be a little bit careful in that regard. He's got himself already nice. That's not too shabby. And in the other lane, I'm actually wondering if there's even a good possibility for a kill fest there, because Tide's hard to kill. CK, I guess maybe the supports in the bottom lane could be killed off in the process. Mid is probably the lane where we're going to see most of the kills happening because these guys are kind of wild, especially Thompson. He's known for being, the two-time TI winner. Also a little bit of a wild performer in regards to being called the pub star, as he tends to want to